January 28, 2000. It was a cold winter's night in Saskatoon, Canada. Two police officers picked up an intoxicated man named Darrell Night. The police found Darrell at a party where an argument broke out and he was found shouting obscenities. Instead of taking him to the drunk tank to sleep it off, as Darrell expected, the police drove Darrell out of town. In sub-zero temperatures, the police stopped in an isolated spot. They dragged Darrell out, slammed his face on the front of the car, removed his handcuffs, and got back into the car without him. As the police were about to drive off, Darrell yelled, "I'll freeze out here. What's wrong with you guys?" Darrell hears one of the policemen respond, "That's your problem." Darrell Night is a member of the Cree Nation. The Cree are a North American Indigenous people who primarily live in Canada. It is for this reason Darrell Night was left to fend for himself in the freezing Canadian winter. Unfortunately, Darrell wasn't the first man to experience this. This practice is known as taking Indigenous people on a Starlight tour. A Starlight tour is when an often intoxicated Indigenous man is taken outside the city in sub-zero temperatures and left there. They often have their clothing taken away as well, further exposing them to the elements. The earliest documented case of this was in 1976, and they continue to happen today. In the middle of the freezing Canadian snow and ill-equipped to cope in these conditions, Darrell Night started walking. As the snow and wind pushed against him, Darrell felt he was making no progress, and he recalls becoming increasingly colder. After what felt like a lifetime, Darrell managed to find a power station. Darrell Night had survived. When news broke out about Darrell's ordeal, the city of Saskatoon was shocked. Rumours had been circulating for years that the police were abducting Indigenous people and leaving them in the snow, but it could not be proved. One day after Darrell Night's ordeal, the body of Rodney Nastis was found close to where Darrell was dropped off. Then, just a few days later, a third Indigenous man, Lawrence Kim Wegner, was discovered near the same location. With Darrell's testimony and the fact that at least 5 deceased Indigenous men were found in a similar area to where Darrell was left, there was now evidence to help prove the rumours. The police officers that dropped Darrell off that night claimed no wrongdoing. They explained that Darrell said, "Look boys, drop me off anywhere, just don't take me in and charge me," and the officers say that they obliged. The two officers were found guilty of unlawful confinement and sent to prison for 8 months. The police chief of Saskatoon has confirmed that these Starlight tours were conducted by the police force and offered an official apology. Starlight tours serve as a reminder of the broader conflict between law enforcement and the Indigenous population. No police officer has been charged for the deaths of any Indigenous person as a result of taking them on a Starlight tour. The fight for justice will continue to go on.